One of the hardest parts about setting up this shot for me is my softbox always glares in that aquarium if I don't get it just right. So, hang on. Alright. I think we're good. First video of 2019. Here we go. Hey guys, welcome to the video. My name is Ryan Styles Harris, and in this video today, I thought it'd be kind of fun. Maybe line up with some of the New Year's resolutions out there, maybe not. Some of you might be thinking about, should I start a YouTube channel about RC or anything in particular, really? So I thought that I would run through all the stuff that I use and a little bit behind my process, and it might inspire you or just kind of give you that little bit of education you need to get the ball rolling. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the gear that I use to put these videos together on a regular basis. Now, the primary camera that I use is going to be my Canon 5D Mark IV. It is what is being recorded with right this very second, and it is doing the bulk of the work in the videos that you see. For those of you that don't know, it's a little bit of a fancy camera, if you will, that I used for my professional work environment. It does a great job taking top tier photos, and it does a really nice job doing some video as well. So it kind of helps me do both my professional career and help with this YouTube channel. Just so you know, all of the stuff that I'm using, I'll go ahead and link down in the description below so that you can find it yourself if you're in the shopping mode for any of these things. The next item on my list of things that I use is going to be my main secondary camera, which is this guy right here. It is a Sony RX100 Mark V. Really awesome little camera. It has great built-in image stabilization. So what I use this camera for primarily is giving it to people that usually don't have any experience with a camera. I know, you might be thinking, that camera is a little bit pricey to just give to a random person. Well, you gotta do what you gotta do to record my qualifiers or main events, because if I'm driving one of these little cars, I can't really record it at the same time with something better than a GoPro. That's the primary function of this guy here. Has a nice little zoom in, zoom out button so that people can follow me around the track, and it's usually not that difficult for them to get some decent footage of my races. Another thing that this little camera is really good with is some slow motion. It does these bursts of super high frame rates, and I use that to capture some really fun slow motion angles of the cars when they go over a jump or they land. I'll try and put a few clips here of some samples that I've done as I'm talking. So as you can see, it just does a really cool job at capturing a little bit different perspective. Usually shots like that, getting them in a semi-decent looking environment and getting that ultra slow motion in high definition or 4K or anything like that, it's usually going to be insanely expensive to use those types of cameras. So I'm not about to go drop $10,000, $30,000 on a super cinematic camera, so this does the job for me in most of the scenarios. Now, I do have these lenses over here, and those are going to be used on my Canon 5D Mark IV, so let's go ahead and take a look and see what we got here. The first one is my absolute favorite one. This is a Canon 50mm lens f1.2. This does a really good job at getting a very natural perspective. It doesn't look too wide, doesn't look too zoomed in, and it performs very well in low light. It gets a great shallow depth of field. It is one of the premier lenses that Canon offers, so it's hard to justify a purchase like this if you're just looking to get started. I would suggest looking at the Canon 50mm f1.8. Significantly cheaper, and it will do the job just as good in most scenarios. Absolute must focal length, in my opinion, for anyone that's looking to get into videography, photography. Next up is going to be my primary lens that I use on just about anything. On most of the shots that you see that I do in this room here, I'm actually using this lens. This lens is great because it is an incredibly versatile focal range. It starts at 24mm, which is a fairly wide shot, and it goes all the way up to 70mm, which is going to be a tighter shot. So it's going to get the job done in a lot of different scenarios, and you kind of zoom in, zoom out, so you can be close to your subjects, far away, etc., etc. It has one of the most important features that you're going to need on a lens for a camera like this, because the Canon 5D Mark IV does not have in-body camera stabilization. So what does that mean? Footage usually looks really shaky if you use something without image stabilization. So having a lens like this, flick this switch on, and then it's going to optically stabilize the footage, and it will do a much better job at making the footage more enjoyable to watch. I hope that makes sense. My next lens is going to be a 70 to 200 millimeter f2.8 lens made by Sigma. Had this lens for a very long time. I use it for a lot of my photography, different events and such, but it also works as a lens I can use for video because it does have the image stabilization. So I'll go ahead and show you a couple shots here that I've gotten with this lens. What this does is it kind of gives you a very tight, close-up perspective of what you're looking at. So one thing that I'm looking for when I put videos together is some moments you want to tell the story a little bit differently, and you do that with the type of lens that you're using. So if you use a very wide angle, it's a very broad approach, like what I'm shooting on right now. It's a very wide angle. With this, you would zoom way in, get super tight, and kind of show some more intimate aspects of whatever it is that you're filming. Everyone tends to like different focal lengths. There isn't one that's right or wrong. It's just the story that you're trying to tell and what you like personally. Another shot you've seen me use in some of my videos is a drone shot. So obviously I have one. Which one do I have? The DJI Phantom 4 Advanced, I think is what it was. Let me get this out of the way. Now, this is definitely not the latest and greatest drone from DJI, and I actually wouldn't even recommend getting this particular drone because it's a little cumbersome. The size of that case, oftentimes I debate whether I want to bring my drone or not at all. The newer ones out there, such as the Mavics or the Mavic Air, or the DJI Spark, are much better options in my opinion because they are a little bit cheaper and they're way easier to carry around. And honestly, I've used footage from the cheapest part of the DJI lineup, the DJI Spark, and the footage was actually pretty good. I would use it as just a quick pan over of like a shot of an outdoor dirt track or something like that. So these are definitely cool, definitely a key piece in storytelling in my opinion for your videos. So I would look into them, but don't try to spend a ton of money on them because you never know if you're gonna break it or if you're gonna lose it. Now, if getting an extra camera altogether, like this little point and shoot camera, my Canon 5D Mark IV, is not exactly in the budget, then you can always use your cell phone. Are all smartphones going to do a fantastic job with this? Not in my experience. The latest generation iPhone or the latest generation Android phones, such as this one here, it's the Pixel 3 by Google. The images that they capture, the colors are very accurate, they're very sharp, they do a great job at getting some decent dynamic range, and it's becoming more and more usable footage by today's standards in most content creators' worlds. So if you're looking to just get started and you're totally overwhelmed by technology, I would say just go ahead and start with your cell phone and see what you can get with that. Fall in love with the creative process and see what kind of shots you wish you could do as you kind of acquire different pieces of kit. These little smartphones, they can have different attachable lenses. This particular company here, Moment, they make different little attachable lens pieces. They have a little case that has a attachment that almost works as like a mount on a camera when you're putting a lens on there. So I'll show you, it's pretty simple. It's a little indicator here to mark where you line it up, give it a twist, and then it's locked in place. And then you have a really cool wide angle shot or tight shot or whatever the lens is that you attach to it. And you can get some really cool footage straight out of your cell phone, which I think is very awesome, and almost anyone can do that. Comparatively speaking, the price for something like this, or lenses for a camera like this, compared to a case and a lens piece for your smartphone, big difference. So this may be a little bit more achievable goal for those of you that are looking to just get started for the very first time. So as an experiment, I thought that I would switch my 5D for my smartphone. So now I'm completely running this off of my Google Pixel 3 with a little wide angle lens on the attachment, and then I am using a Rode Video Micro. So audio sounds a little bit different and video looks a little bit different, but I think that it's a testament that you can get a very decent usable shot straight out of your smartphone. If you want to go the extra mile and put on a little external mic, I highly encourage you. Not totally necessary, but it's those little additions and touches of production that will make your videos stand apart from the person who doesn't. Now, I wanted to take a moment and talk about, once you kind of look at the pieces of equipment and see what's going to work best for you, one of the factors that you're going to be looking at is what kind of resolution or frame rates do they shoot with. The most standard resolution is going to be high definition, also known as 1080p. More and more commonly, we're starting to see things as a baseline that shoot 4K. As of today, at the time of this video, a lot of things out there will shoot 4K, but there seems to be a little bit of a divide as to whether or not you can shoot things at a high frame rate in 4K. So for example, this camera here shoots 4K, but it's only going to do it at 30 frames per second. Same with my Google Pixel. 4K stops at 30 frames per second. Now, why is this important or notable, you may ask? If you're not familiar with this, this may sound like gibberish. What this means is, if you can shoot something at 60 frames per second versus 30, that means that when I go to edit the video, I can take that footage and slow it way down, and it still looks smooth and it's not choppy. It's a different perspective, a little bit more engaging. Sometimes it lines up better with the music, so on and so on. You get the point. When you're looking at all your different options, that's something that I keep in mind all the time if I'm looking at a new camera. What kind of frame rates does it shoot in? How high of resolution with a high frame rate can I go? Godspeed in your search. So we talked about my different cameras, the camera bodies, why I picked the ones that I picked and what I use them for. What are some of the other equipment that I use for my videos? Well, at this very second, I am being properly exposed with a nice little softbox. It's nothing expensive. I just found it on Amazon. It comes in a pack of 3 with some stands. One of the most important things you could ever do in a video in a controlled environment like this, where I have my camera set up nicely and I have all my lighting controlled, is learning proper exposure. How to light a subject, directional light. You got some light on my face with a soft fall off on this side. It's not perfect by any means, but it definitely gets the job done, and it looks way better than just having some overhead light from the ceiling. So next up, we can talk about audio. Bottom line with audio is a microphone that's in the correct position will sound way better than a super expensive microphone that's in the wrong position. Another example would be, like I just mentioned, this microphone is right here. If I had it in the corner of the room, it would sound way more echoey. I wouldn't have a good bass note to my voice. It would just sound really, really, really bad. Properly set up audio is going to play a huge factor into the overall quality of a production if you take it to the level of setting up your lighting and your audio, etc., etc. Now, the mic that I just mentioned, it is the Rode Video Mic Pro. It can be mounted right on top of my camera. So when you see me holding the camera out in front of me, talking, blah, 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 I'm still getting fairly decent audio because it's not the internal mic on my camera. It's an external mic with a preamp, and it allows me to dial in a much better audio signal. Another mic I use is going to be the Rode Video Micro. Again, internal audio on smartphones, it's decent. It's notably kind of bad on the new Google Pixel 3 compared to something like an iPhone, but slapping on one of these definitely sounds way better than the stock internal microphone. Now, this is definitely an extra credit style of tool. Whether you're using a DSLR, smartphone, point and shoot, there's going to be some type of gimbal offered for that type of camera to help you stabilize your footage and get you a little bit smoother action as you're moving and following your subjects. So this one here is for my smartphone. It's the Movi Cinema Robot. I have a little cold shoe attachment for the little microphone I just showed you. It goes right up here, and I'll show you, it's actually pretty easy. Clamp it on right here. Get it reasonably close to center. Swing it out. Turn it on. And you're good to go. You just hold it right there, follows your subject while you move it around. So this is pretty fun for a couple different things. And oh, this is my favorite part. You just flip it and then it's off. It's pretty cool. So this little gadget is nice for a couple different reasons. One, if you're just recording, getting some cool footage of cars going around the track, your day at the track, whatever, it's gonna smooth it out and make it a little bit more enjoyable to watch. Also, if you were going to do anything like Facebook Live or any sort of live streaming on YouTube, this is going to help you keep a much smoother shot during your live broadcast. A lot of times I'll watch people and their footage is either like this and not like this, shame on you, or it's just a little bit shaky. And it's okay, I totally understand. It's a cell phone, not a whole lot of weight to it, so it's naturally going to be a little bit shaky. Using something like a gimbal will definitely improve the end user experience of your live broadcast. So once you've shot your video and the lighting is perfect and the audio is perfect and you have all this great footage, what do you do with it? I go ahead and slap it into my not so fancy PC over there. Still a pretty beefy PC compared to most. It has a dedicated graphics card, it's got a super fast processor, a decent amount of RAM, so running a program like Adobe Premiere Pro is no problem for me, which is the editing program that I use to put these videos together. I'm obviously not going to try and teach you how to use a program like this. This is a way more in-depth process, but YouTube is a beautiful place if you take it upon yourself to learn something like this. Definitely a ton of tutorials out there and people that can give you the basics of how to edit a video. If you're wondering how I'll put music and color grades and all kinds of fancy stuff in a video, that's where I do it, Adobe Premiere Pro. Well, I think that's about all the stuff that I use. I can't think of anything else that I have that I didn't show you. If you guys have any questions about some of the stuff that I do, feel free, drop it down in the comments below, and I'll do my best to jump in there and give you the info in case I left it out in the video. Hope you guys liked the video. Like I said, this is an RC channel, as if it's not obvious, so this is a little bit different from my normal content, but thought it was something that you guys might enjoy, and I hope that it encourages some of you other racers out there to get out there and start making videos as well. RC is a very underexposed hobby, in my opinion. The things that we do and the fun that we have, I really hope that we can continue to share it with the people that have no clue what it is. And the only way that's going to happen is if more of you out there grab a camera, grab your phone, get out there, record stuff, and start making videos. Hope you liked it. Like the video if you did, subscribe if you're not, and I will see you guys next time.